Hey everybody, Ray Shinhara here, call sign Shino, what's going on? So I'd like to talk to everybody about the last session that we had at the Salty Sailor Talk. And the topic was, how often do you speak with your buddies from the service and what's the best way to keep in contact with them, right? So we talked a lot in the session about how it's easy or it's hard to keep up with people, but at the end of the day, we do have, our fellow veterans that just ghost social media. And it doesn't help that some of these online platforms are censoring us because of our political or social views of the world or the world around us. And we have to keep that in mind, right? If you want to keep up with your buddies, like you're gonna have to be proactive, right? And there's different ways to do it. Checking every online platform, Googling them, and just seeing how they're doing, right? If we don't have their phone numbers, their emails, their contact information, or whatever. But one cool thing that I've been doing lately, especially with the Salty Sailor Talk, is provide them an outlet or a forum so they could come together and just reminisce the past, right? And take it in those small steps, because sometimes it is hard to keep up with your buddies because they literally just drop their pack and they don't want to be a part of, the veteran community or whatever. They're just trying to live their life and be happy. A lot of people have families, they have new careers or whatever they're doing. The past may not be important to them, but it is important to the community to be there for each other. With a high rate of suicide that's happening in the veteran community, what if we could prevent that? What if we could prevent the deaths of our brothers or sisters that served alongside with us, right? So that's what we're really trying to do, is keep that contact, like constant contact, whether it's checking in with them, we do it every week, really just checking on them, seeing how they're doing. It's a great way to, not only keep up with them, but increase that support network, not just you, but for everybody else. Another thing that we really talked about, it is nice to reach out to your friends, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's good to reach out for help. It's really hard seeing, the news of some of our brothers or sisters struggling, and they're on the news coverage of wherever they're at because of something they're going through, whether it's, PTSD related or, falling back into their old lives before the military, whether it was, everybody lived differently back then, right? And sometimes we fall back into that world and it may not be conducive to our lives anymore. And, some of us go back into criminal activity or drug use, or, we just fall into some hard times. And we need to recognize that by keeping in contact with each other. So some things, to keep in contact with people, but, to also put yourself out there. There are podcasts, veteran podcasts that are out there. There's books, book clubs. There's a lot of veterans that are writing their own books now. And that's how I keep up with, some of my friends and everything, is by understanding, where they're coming from, keeping up with them by reading their book. Then there's also associations, military affiliated associations, and they could be, from your units, at the very small unit level. And then some of them have the association from the division, brigade, or the ship level. And it's just, people who have lived through that experience, have been a part of the legacy of that unit, and they keep up with each other. And you could have dudes from Vietnam or dudes, from yesterday on those things. And it's to really show the legacy you left while you were in the military. There's also the unit reunions. A lot of these nonprofits put up for people or veterans that do it on their own, which is super amazing because, they get to come back together as a whole unit and, see how they're doing, but interact with them and then see how everybody looks after 10 years. And then there's also, we talked about it. This is funny. And if you're not a veteran or understand this, the mail. You handwriting, stuff or drawing pictures, and we talked about that in our session. There is a language that veterans have, and it's more comfortable, or it can be comfortable for some people, because they have to mask or hide that military side, that culture, that language that we are so used to, because it may conflict with their communities or their relationship with the people that are around them now that they're civilians. Facebook is a really great platform for a lot of these veteran groups, especially the ones here on the Salty Sailor Talk. There's also Facebook groups for battalions, events, deployments, service groups, veterans, and for specific things. Sometimes there's groups for your specific race population or your ethnicity, and those are really interesting. I run an Asian Marine group, and they have their specific struggles that they deal with culturally. WhatsApp is a group chat that people are jumping onto, and there's all these other platforms and online things. But at the end of the day, it's really just making sure that you have solid communication with your guys, and at least getting their phone numbers and everything like that to keep in touch, just in case they move, their phone numbers change or whatever. There is a way to contact them and check in on them, man. It's amazing listening to these guys during the session talk about like how they keep up with their dudes, and how sometimes they don't have contact with them because they may have left the military or the unit on bad terms. And this is a conversation that we had in one of my groups. It's hard, it's rough. There's some of us who have left the unit on bad terms that, we may not have, got along with each other or whatever. But you going into, that conversation with somebody and just laying it all on the line, like, man, I'm sorry that I pissed you off or that I left the unit or we left at bad terms, but like, give them your rationale about it. Give them your reasoning behind, why you did it, and just make flat ground now, and then you'll realize that, other than that one incident that you had, you guys do have a relationship, a history together, because in our life journey, we were together, whether we were infantry guys, in the same fighting hole, or if we were, cooks on the chow hall line or something like that. We have these experiences, and these experiences shouldn't be canceled or, disappeared in our life. It's what made us who we are today. And creating and establishing those relationships is awesome for building, a strong support network at the end of the day, checking in on people, and helping yourself out, because a lot of us are struggling with, especially now with this isolation and everything. Like, it's so easy to get on social media and vent about your stuff, but we should be checking on our guys, and that's what's important. With the high rate of suicide and mental health issues that are happening with the pandemic and everything, like, we should check on our guys and see how they're doing and maintain those relationships, because why not? We serve the country, we've fought in the battlefield together. There's no reason that we shouldn't be keeping in contact with each other, regardless of the distance, the time, or whatever happened. Like, we're still brothers and sisters in arms, and we should always be there for each other. Wherever you are, stay safe, stay in that fight, and Semper Fidelis.